In addition, Poltesa Sambas or Poltesa is the only state university located in the northern region of West Kalimantan province, specifically in Sambas Region C. Territorially, Poltesa is a university campus that is very close to the border area between Indonesia and Malaysia. This serves as motivation for Poltesa to continue advancing as the front line of the Republic of Indonesia in the fields of education and economic development in the border region. Currently, Poltesa has 11 study programs that are designed to realize a scientific vision that can be applied to harness local potential for regional progress. Although it is located in a border area, institutionally Poltesa is already considered to meet quality standards and is formally recognized as evidenced by its university accreditation status with a very good rating. In addition, Poltesa students have also achieved various proud accomplishments ranging from national level achievements to international level successes. Among them are the following. Poltesa students successfully passed the Indonesian International Student Mobility Award Program to Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. They have sent students for internships to Hungary, sent students for internships to Japan, and achieved national level accomplishments in the National Polytechnic Arts and Sports Week. For 2 consecutive years, they have won first place in the video content competition at the National Vocational Accounting Olympiad. They won 3rd place in the animated video competition at the National Informatics Student Competition, and there are still many other achievements by Poltesa students. In improving the quality of education, Poltesa continues to prepare competent teaching staff. Several Poltesa lecturers have also completed their doctoral studies and received research and community service grant funding from the Ministry of Education, Science, and Technology. Meanwhile, to support the learning process, teaching on campus, Poltesa strives to provide a comfortable environment, representative learning spaces, and has equipped workshops and laboratories with the best standard equipment. In addition, Poltesa always supports the development of students' interests and talents. Through various campus activities, Poltesa aims to make a positive impact on the development of the institution, students, and the Sambas community. Among them are the following: 1. Establishing 12 international partnerships and 152 domestic collaborations. 2. Collaborating with villages in Sambas to jointly explore village potential. 3. Establishing the Alcintan Center to support agriculture in Sambas. 4. Opening opportunities for alumni to participate in internships in Japan. 5. Establishing a Japan Corner to improve students' Japanese language skills. 6. Conducting various research and community service activities. Poltesa makes an impact. Poltesa rises, creates, innovates, and is based on local wisdom.
Kewujudan Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris adalah simbol evolusi kepada dunia pendidikan di Malaysia. Bermula dengan penubuhan Sultan Idris Training College pada tahun 1922, ia terus mengurat langkah sehingga diiktiraf menjadi Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris pada tahun 1997. Visi Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris adalah menjadi universiti yang bitara, cemerlang dalam kepimpinan pendidikan, berlandaskan kegemilangan sejarah serta menerajui perubahan global. Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris membawa misi menjana dan menata ilmu menerusi pengajaran, penyelidikan, penerbitan, perundingan dan khidmat masyarakat dalam konteks pembangunan insan untuk mencapai wawasan negara. Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris berkembang semakin pesat dengan wujudnya kampus baru, Kampus Sultan Azlan Shah di Bandar Proton. Dengan keluasan 300 ekar, kampus ini menempatkan pelbagai prasarana, mampu menampung keperluan melebihi 6,000 pelajar pada satu-satu masa. Suasana pembelajaran kondusif dan kelengkapan yang memenuhi keperluan mewujudkan pembelajaran yang berkesan dalam kalangan pelajar Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris. Sehingga ke hari ini, Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris menawarkan hampir 300 kursus di pelbagai peringkat, meliputi diploma sehingga ke peringkat kedoktoran. Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris berhasrat menjadikan penyelidikan sebagai salah satu teras utama. Melalui geran-geran penyelidikan daripada pelbagai pihak, usaha giat dijalankan secara berterusan untuk memperolehi dapatan serta produk-produk baru. Sehingga kini, Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris berjaya mendapat pelbagai pengiktirafan di peringkat negara dan antarabangsa. Selaras dengan matlamat menjadi Universiti Pendidikan terunggul di Asia menjelang tahun 2020, usaha pengantarbangsaan giat dilaksanakan melalui memorandum persefahaman, lawatan akademik dan perkongsian kepakaran. UPSI berhasrat untuk melahirkan individu yang holistik, seimbang daripada segi jasmani, rohani dan intelek. Untuk itu, ia menyediakan pelbagai program pengisian untuk membentuk peribadi pelajar-pelajar. Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris akan tetap megah, mengurak langkah mencipta kejayaan, mendepani pelbagai cabaran, menggalas tanggungjawab untuk meneruskan kegemilangannya demi kepentingan negara. Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris komited membawa perubahan dalam pendidikan. Kewujudan Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris adalah simbol evolusi kepada dunia pendidikan di Malaysia. Bermula dengan penubuhan Sultan Idris Training College pada tahun 1922, ia terus mengurak langkah sehingga diiktiraf menjadi Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris pada tahun 1997. Visi Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris adalah menjadi universiti yang bitara, cemerlang dalam kepimpinan pendidikan, berlandaskan kegemilangan sejarah serta menerajui perubahan global. Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris membawa misi menjana dan menata ilmu menerusi pengajaran, penyelidikan, penerbitan, perundingan dan khidmat masyarakat dalam konteks pembangunan insan untuk mencapai wawasan negara. Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris berkembang semakin pesat dengan wujudnya kampus baru, Kampus Sultan Azlan Shah di Bandar Proton. Dengan keluasan 300 ekar, kampus ini menempatkan pelbagai prasarana, mampu menampung keperluan melebihi 6,000 pelajar pada satu-satu masa. Suasana pembelajaran kondusif dan kelengkapan yang memenuhi keperluan mewujudkan pembelajaran yang berkesan dalam kalangan pelajar Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris. Sehingga ke hari ini, Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris menawarkan hampir 300 kursus di pelbagai peringkat, meliputi diploma sehingga ke peringkat kedoktoran. Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris berhasrat menjadikan penyelidikan sebagai salah satu teras utama. Melalui geran-geran penyelidikan daripada pelbagai pihak, usaha giat dijalankan secara berterusan untuk memperolehi dapatan serta produk-produk baru. Sehingga kini, Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris berjaya mendapat pelbagai pengiktirafan di peringkat negara dan antarabangsa. Selaras dengan matlamat menjadi Universiti Pendidikan terunggul di Asia menjelang tahun 2020, usaha pengantarbangsaan giat dilaksanakan melalui Memorandum Persefahaman
Test, test, test. Warm greetings to everyone. Hello, hello. Assalamualaikum and warm greetings to everyone. Welcome back to day 2. Na 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 suara. Assalamualaikum and warm greetings to everyone. Welcome back to day 2 of the 3rd International General Studies Conference 2025. As a kind reminder, we invite all participants to complete the registration process by scanning the QR code displayed on your screen or by clicking the registration link shared in the chat box. Yesterday, we had the privilege of listening of 2 inspiring keynote sessions. Today, we continue with the next series of keynote addresses that promise to bring even more meaningful insights and discussions. Fellow audience members, participants are kindly invited to post any question in the WebEx chat box during the keynote speech session. The question will be read aloud during the Q&A session. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and participants, we hope you had a rewarding experience yesterday, and we look forward to another day filled with meaningful discussions and insights. To open today's program, it is my honor to introduce our first keynote speaker of the day, Dr. Samuel Chiu Kai Moon from the Department of Linguistics and Modern Languages, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, China. Dr. Samuel is a highly respected scholar and an accomplished interpreter with expertise in both sign and spoken languages. He graduated from the University of Malaya and pursued his postgraduate studies in sign language linguistics at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, where he was awarded a full scholarship. As a member of International Association of Conference Interpreters, AIIC, Dr. Samuel has successfully balanced an active international interpreting career with impactful academic research. His working language are truly impressive, including English, Chinese, Malay, Cantonese, Classical Hebrew, Classical Arabic, Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia, BIM, and International Sign, IS. With such an impressive background and wealth of expertise, we are privileged to have him open our second day of IGesCon 2025. Today he will be delivering his keynote address entitled Future of Deaf Education, Technology Enhanced Inclusive Pedagogy. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Samuel Chiu Kai Moon. Dr. Samuel, the floor is yours.
Hello and good morning to esteemed colleagues. First of all, thank you for being here this morning. I know it's pretty early for some of you, but thank you for being here. And also to the organizers, thank you for the invitation for me to be able to speak to my esteemed colleagues on a topic that's really close to my heart. Although I am a sign language linguist by training, so I'm from the Chinese University of Hong Kong, from the Department of Linguistics and Modern Languages. My passion in terms of sign language is very much for deaf education. And today's topic that I'll be delivering to all of you this morning will be on how, as a combination of how technology in the past 5 years or so has been important for the to create an inclusive pedagogy, especially for our deaf as well as hard of hearing students. So, although this is a recorded lecture, I am actually here in the room with you, and feel free to ask questions, because I think at the end of the day, what's really important is that I could hear also from all of you in terms of what you think would be relevant to your teaching or to your research in terms of technology, AI, and education in general. So let's dive right in. So a quick introduction to deaf education and technology. As all of us may be aware of, I hope, is that sign language is essential to effective deaf education, or in other words, sign language is essential to the teaching of the deaf and hard of hearing. There's an overwhelming large corpus of knowledge, as well as a lot of research that's pointed to the importance of using sign language as a means, as a medium of instruction to teach deaf and hard of hearing students. So apart from it being an essential medium of instruction, we know sign language being part of a very important part of deaf culture. It creates an identity which leads to what we call deaf gain, GAIN, as you know, as contrary to what we may think as a hearing loss. But actually having sign language and deaf identity leads to actually gain, not just for the community of deaf and hard of hearing people, but also in general for all. And I hope that by the end of this lecture, apart from understanding how technology and the advent of AI is important to the teaching of our deaf and hard of hearing students, we could also see how having technology, because it has been geared towards the teaching of deaf and hard of hearing students, have led to the advancement of a overall benefit to both hearing as well as hard of hearing students. Now, on saying that sign language is essential as a medium of instruction, we can see also there is a serious problem in terms of teaching using sign language because of the clear lack of qualified instructors. I can speak very clearly from the Malaysian perspective, and I know that many parts of the world face a similar situation whereby qualified instructors who are proficient in sign language are very limited, and therefore students have very limited early exposure to sign language, especially if the students are not born into a deaf family or family who uses sign language, which of course you would have guessed is the majority of deaf students. All right, on saying this, as we know that because of the lack of qualified instructors, the traditional methods or the pedagogy that have been used over the years have been unable to address all the learning needs because there are simply not enough qualified teachers or instructors who are proficient in sign language, who are able to use sign language to teach these students. But, well, not all hope is lost, because we can see and we know that technology now offers a very important way as a means to support inclusive as well as accessible learning. And on touching inclusive as well as accessible learning, we are not only referring to deaf and hard of hearing students, it is by far to create an environment whereby both disabled or we call it typically developing students are able to learn because of the of technology and the support system is available or able to be used in the classroom. So some of the innovative tools that have been clearly used in the last couple of years is what we are some of you may be familiar with, which is the use of video apps, video applications, as well as online sign language dictionaries to actually help these students, deaf students as well as hearing students, improve language access. So sign language dictionaries are highly crucial for both hearing as well as deaf students, because as we know, sign language requires some kind of movement. Many of the sign languages or signs require some kind of movement, and online sign language dictionaries having the ability to actually capture motion is especially helpful in the learning of sign language. And it's important because when a sign language is well acquired or learned by both hearing students, deaf students, and teachers of the deaf, it actually helps to facilitate better communication both within and without the classroom. And so apart from this, video apps and online sign language dictionaries, we know virtual reality, VR, as well as augmented reality, AR, and AI tools have been very important in terms of how it actually enables sign language recognition or sign recognition, and to create an immersive as well as an interactive learning environment, because it is able to provide real-time feedback and create environments which in the past it's not possible for the deaf to be in, whereby it is able to create the virtual reality or augmented reality whereby sign language is being used by these students in their learning. Right. So apart from this innovative technology or tools to enhance sign language learning pedagogy, we see that such technology actually benefits the language acquisition of deaf as well as hard of hearing students. So when we talk about language acquisition, we are not only referring to sign language, we are referring to we call it bimodal, which includes two modalities, the modality of sign language, the sign modality, as well as the verbal modality, whereby the students learn to read and write in their respective national languages or written languages such as English, Chinese, and in Malaysia, the learning of the national language, which is Bahasa Melayu. So you can see this technology, when the integration of technology in the classroom, we see that students and as well as hard of hearing students are able to have a very much personalized as well as a self-paced learning experience, which is similar, or at least hearing students in the past are able to benefit from the videos as well as technology that allows them to have a personalized as well as self-learning kind of journey. So with technology, we see that learners and educators both have students, because some of them, many a times, they are in a much smaller community or smaller classroom. They are able, through technology, communicate using sign language or using a written language that they type to communicate with teachers as well as their peers, both within the country as well as from abroad. So this is another technology integration that has benefited tremendously the deaf community in terms of their learning. So some of the important evidence of how technology has been successful, and when looking at the success of this technology, we will also want to consider what are some of the emerging as well as the future directions of deaf education using technology that we have today, as well as what we anticipate would be the technology to come. So apart from visual as well as interactive tools, this is something that I think many of us are already familiar with. We use animations, augmented reality. This is important, especially from literature, as a tool, as a means to actually teach early learners in terms of language acquisition as well as language learning. And all this language learning as well as early literacy are taught using sign language, the national sign language of the country, which is in Malaysia, I've mentioned earlier, is the Malaysian Sign Language, or BIM, Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia. And from the research that are available, we can see the sign language-based content is really crucial, because such tools that integrate or deliver content in sign language are more engaging to deaf learners, and by the mere reason that it's actually more engaging, students as well as deaf learners in particular are able to help them in terms of their comprehension of not just a language subject, but across different subjects, whether it's mathematics or science or history, and the subjects that are taught at school. Now, apart from this successes of using this technology for learning within a classroom, we know that technology has allowed also for remote interpreting, whereby students who are with teachers probably in areas whereby there is a lack of signing teachers, whereby signing teachers refer to teachers who are able to sign proficiently. So what happens in those situations, and when there is a need for higher learning? Because of technology, interpreters can now be engaged remotely, which means they do not need to be physically at the school or in the classroom, but they can be connected remotely to provide learning or support to these students. So it's really important, because this communication tools whereby the interpreters are able to use with the support of the classroom, with the teachers as well as the lecturers, and now students who are deaf and hard of hearing are able to bridge communication, not just between the lecturers or the teachers and the students, but also to bridge communication among their peers in the classroom. And so this is very important as it actually facilitates exchanges of ideas as well as classroom discussion among hearing as well as typically developing students. As with hearing as well as deaf students. So from the wealth of or the development of technology in the last 5 years or so, we see there are actually 5 main or core thematic areas of technology advancement. First, we can see technology for deaf pedagogy is in the area of gesture recognition and real-time feedback. So gesture recognition means now that when students are able to gesture with their hands, or it could be a non-manual referring to facial expressions, technology is able to capture these movements and provide real-time feedback in the classroom for these students as well as for the teachers. Apart from that, another core or important thematic area is interactive virtual reality environments to create and simulate a learning environment for students, for deaf students. For example, the VR environment could be to create a laboratory, a lab, whereby the instructor actually uses sign language to teach these students to conduct a science experiment, for example. And apart from that, gamification, which is the use of technology, VR, to create games for students to actually be more immersed in their learning. Because as we know, children or even younger adults who are in the process of learning requires some kind of excitement. And this excitement sometimes is lacking when the teachers or when the educators are not able to fully engage with them due to the lack of the ability to sign. So apart from gamification, we also see that with the advent of technology, they are able to create personalized as well as learning systems which are more adaptive to individual learning needs. So all this thematic areas leads to what we call the accessibility and as well as inclusivity for the different and diverse learners. And diverse learners here, I would refer to deaf students. Being deaf students, they do have a certain or higher degree of need for accessibility, and the technology is able to bridge or bring the gap closer between deaf, hard of hearing students as well as typically developing students. So, as we have talked about technology and how all this advancement is important for the learning, there are also some important considerations in terms of the ethical as well as the pedagogical considerations. So technology is great, and we know that it's been positive in terms of how it actually enhances learning for disabled students, for deaf students. Yet we need to also be cognizant of how this advancement would be used in the classroom, because what's important is that we know that technology is actually a means of support and not a means to say that, okay, now we do not need any more deaf educators, we do not need any more deaf role models, or but still, we do not actually need sign language anymore. We can just use technology to teach students. I think this is one important ethical as well as pedagogical understanding for everybody present here, as well as when you share this information and knowledge among your peers as well as your colleagues, is that yes, technology has been proven to be great to support learning, yet sign language, deaf educators are not a reason for them to be replaced. So on saying that, we know that we need to develop more culturally responsive design, whereby the deaf identity has to be respected. At the onset of my discussion, I talk about deaf gain, whereby we always have to understand that sign language, having a deaf and hard of hearing student is not a loss to the system, but actually it's a gain whereby we can see not just how technology has advanced, because there is a need for the use of this technology in the classroom to support and to teach learning, and at the same time the diversity of sign languages, of the culture of deaf identity is important for the overall benefit as well as understanding of humanity. Therefore, in the final conclusion or final consideration of ethical as well as pedagogical considerations, what the future would be in terms of technology development is to involve deaf stakeholders in the development of all these new pedagogical methods, pedagogical tools to teach deaf and hard of hearing students, to ensure that all these methods and tools and technology are not only relevant, but it actually promotes inclusivity in the classroom and beyond. So, as a conclusion to this lecture this morning, I would like to just have probably provide a glimpse as to what we see would be the future of inclusive deaf education. So we know that, first of all, combining technology with sign language has been proven to lead to better outcomes. So sign language is key as a means of instruction, and therefore what we need to do moving forward is how this technology development would address accessibility, as well as to look at the gaps that still exist in terms of how typically developing students, deaf and hard of hearing students, would be how we bring the gap closer in terms of their education level, in terms of how we teach these students, and how the overall learning can lead to better equity. Therefore, finally, we know that having an empowered and deaf and technology-supported pedagogy indeed is the way forward, and it will and has been shown to reshape deaf education in the past, and will, we know, to continue to do so into the future. So I will conclude here. Please feel free to ask questions, and I'm very happy to have a more in-depth discussion with all of you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samuel, for that insightful keynote address. We will now open the floor for a short Q&A session. We have time for 2 questions from the audience. If you would like to ask a question, please type it into the chat box and I will read it aloud to our speaker. If there is any question, you can ask and type it in the chat box, or you can ask it live through this WebEx. Thank you once again, Dr. Samuel. Can I see Dr. Samuel in this WebEx chat in the live? Can you say hi or wave in the camera, Dr. Samuel? Okay, we're still waiting for a question. Okay, there's a question in the chat box. I can read aloud to the speaker.
Hi, I can't hear you, but I think
All right.
I mean, I can see the question that's in the chat box. I think it's Aswan or Aswin, either Aswan or Aswin. So thank you very much for the question. If you're able to hear me, maybe I could just read out the question first and then maybe answer the question. Is that okay, MC? Would it be fine, MC? All right, sure. So the question from Aswin or Aswan says that how can technology as well as sign language be combined in classroom to make deaf education more inclusive and effective? I think that's a pertinent question that has been brought up, and also the core to what I've been delivering the keynote. So that's why before I want to ask this question, I just want to know how many among the audience are actually training or researchers or deaf educators, people who are teaching the deaf, or maybe at least some form of exposure to deaf students or deaf learners, because I can't really see the audience. But I'll assume that there are some of you who are into deaf education. At least Aswin is interested. The situation now in the country is that we have got classroom that's combined. We call them the bimodal, bilingual system. Bimodal bilingual means two modality. As I mentioned in the keynote, it means the sign modality as well as the spoken modality, verbal modality. So now I'm speaking in a language that's what we call it's the spoken modality, where sign language is the modality that we use our hands to communicate. So when we have classroom that combines students that uses two modality, it actually is more, the situation becomes more complex compared to having just two languages. Because when the situation appears with students who are deaf, they use a sign modality, and with typically developing students who are only maybe proficient in a spoken language. In the past, they would use written language to communicate because that would be the common denominator. Students would either write to their peers in Malay or in Bahasa Melayu or in English to communicate. But now with the advent of technology, as mentioned, the classroom now becomes more of a level playing field. Level playing field means that now even for deaf students, because they are now able to access, for example, VR, AR technology that has got sign language that's being used to teach. I'll give you an example of, it could be just a very simple experiment, a science experiment. In the past, the teachers were not proficient, they would just show without having the ability to use sign language. But now, with the advent of technology, because this is an online lecture, I wasn't able to bring you all these gadgets to show you how students in Hong Kong are able to wear this VR goggles and have actually the same classroom experience as a hearing student, but now it's different from a hearing student in the sense that what the students who are typically developing is able to hear. But for a deaf student, the whole teaching when they wear the goggles is able to see the person signing the entire experiment. This in the past would be very cost intensive because you need maybe an interpreter or at least someone who's proficient in the subject matter and also sign for every classroom. But because with AR technology, they just need to watch. The students just need to watch At the same time, concurrently, the teacher is teaching the science experiments, speaking to the students, but the deaf students are able to see the experiments being conducted with explanations in sign language. So that actually creates a more inclusive classroom environment, whereby we do not need to actually separate students into different periods, different batches, just because the teacher who's doing the experiment explanations is unable to sign. So this is how we can leverage on technology to make it more inclusive and therefore level up the playing field, make it fair to both deaf as well as typically developing students. So actually there are many gadgets in technology. It's I wish I could be there to show you all these things, to show you what we actually use, the physical objects, that physical technological gadgets that we use to teach students. But I believe you can imagine. That's why the first question I asked is, how many of you are already involved in deaf education? If you are, I would highly encourage or welcome you all to come to Hong Kong to come and just see how this technology is being used and what would be a glimpse of the future of the use of technology that we could also consider to be applied here in our country, Malaysia. All right. That's a brief answer to a very good question. Thank you so much, Aswin or Aswan. Thank you. Oh, back to you, Anzi.
All right, thank you once again, Dr. Samuel, for the inspiring keynote and for addressing our question. Before we move on, let's take a short group photo to capture this moment together. May I kindly invite everyone to switch on your cameras for a group photo session. Once again, may I kindly invite everyone to switch on your camera for a group photo session. All right, everyone, on the first screenshot, give us your best smile. 3, 2, 1. And now for the second one, let's do a thumbs up pose. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay? It's a I love you sign language. All right. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, are we okay? All right, wonderful. Thank you everyone for your cheerful participation. That concludes this keynote session, and we will now continue with the next keynote speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, as we approach to the final keynote session before our parallel presentation, it is my honor to introduce our next distinguished speakers, Dr. Ira Mutiara Ningrum from the Tourism and Business Management Study Program, Polytechnic Negeri Sambas, Indonesia. Dr. Ira holds a doctorate in Language Education Science from Universitas Negeri Semarang, with her dissertation focusing on digital multimodal composing and social media. She also earned her master's degree in English language teaching from Universitas Negeri Malang and her bachelor's degree from Universitas Tanjung Pura Pontianak. Her research interests span digital multimodal composing, DMC, multimodality, mobile assisted language learning, MALL, and AI in pedagogy. Dr. Ira has published widely in international journals, particularly on project-based learning, entrepreneurship in vocational education, and the integration of emerging technologies such as ChatGPT in teaching and learning. In addition, Dr. Ira actively contributes to the academic community as a journal editor and reviewer for several international publications. Today, she will deliver her keynote address entitled Leveraging AI as a Learning Partner in Video-Based English Projects in TVET, reflecting students' journeys. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our keynote speakers, Dr. Ira Mutiara Ningrum. Dr. Ira, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, the MC, moderator, and the committee. First of all, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to Politeknik Negeri Sambas, Indonesia, Politeknik Kota Kinabalu Sabah, and the Faculty of Human Science, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, as well as the Center of Research and Innovations, Departments of Polytechnic and Community Colleges, Malaysia. And of course, a very special thanks goes to the leaders of these institutions and the organizing committee who have made this wonderful event possible. It's truly a privilege for me to be here today. I'm really delighted to have the opportunity to share some ideas and, more importantly, to learn and exchange perspective with such a diverse audience from different countries. Well, before I begin my presentation, please allow me to show you our campus. Politeknik Negeri Sambas is located in a small district in West Kalimantan, Indonesia. It is situated in the border area between Indonesia and Malaysia. In our daily communication, we use Malay language, and this is the emblem of Poltesa. As you can see, it features seahorse, which represents our location by the sea, and our strong potential in marine tourism. Here you can also notice two seahorses with long tails. They represent the strength of Samba Sultanate, and we will be very pleased to host you on our campus in the future. So here's the flow of my presentation today. First, I will start with a short overview of AI and TVET, just to set the context. Second, I'll move on to the supporting theories that frame the topic. Then we will look at the video English project, which is the main focus of digital multimodal composition in my study. And finally, I'll share a brief article review to show what scholars have found about this topic. Now let's talk about artificial intelligence in technical and vocational education and training, or TVET. In relation to today's topic, we are focusing on TVET. TVET refers to an educational approach that equips learners with practical skills, technical knowledge, and competencies needed for specific jobs and industries. It is designed to prepare students for the world of work while also fostering innovations and regional development. This is the first supporting theory. Literacy is no longer limited to reading and writing anymore. Students should express meaning through multiple modes and various technologies. Here are some theories supporting the use of AI in TVET, and I will start with DMC. When we talk about digital multimodal compositions, we are basically talking about how students create meaning using a mix of modes like text, visuals, audio, and designs rather than just words alone. In video projects, this is very clear that students use AI to combine language, images, and sound to build their video projects in a more creative and effective way. Now, this is naturally, it connects to social semiotics, which reminds us that every choice in communications, whether it's an image, a color, a piece of music, or even the way a text is placed, carries meaning in a cultural and social context. So when students use AI to design their videos, they are actually shaping messages through the signs and symbols, and that reflects both their personal choice and the wider cultural meaning behind it. Social semiotic, is basically about how people make meaning with signs and symbols in their social and cultural context. So first, it deals with perceptions of intent and other voices, meaning how we kind of guess what others want to say and whose voice are involved. Then there is the communication experience, which is simply how the message feels when delivered and received. Next, it's about sense of relevance, like whether the message really matters to us or not. After that, we bring in pre-existing knowledge and frames, since people always interpret things based on what they already know. And finally, it's about perceptions of the message, which is basically how the overall meaning is understood. From there, we can also see the role of social constructivism, which highlights that learning is not just individual but social. When students collaborate on these AI-supported video projects, share feedback, and build on each other's ideas, they are constructing knowledge. They constructing and co-constructing knowledge. This process makes learning more engaging and authentic because it happens through interactions and collaboration. And then this leads us to connectivism, which is about how learning happens by making connections between people, ideas, and digital networks. AI becomes especially powerful here because it helps students connect quickly to information, tools, and communities beyond the classroom. In the end, their projects are not just products of individual efforts, but of a larger network of learning that ties together human creativity and digital support. Well, connectivism, as Seaman 2005 explains, sees knowledge as something that exists within networks, where learning is the ability to form, navigate, and nurture connections across people, ideas, and digital resources. This theory became popular in the 2000s, while following the gradual shift in educational paradigms from behaviorism in the early 1900s to cognitivism in the 1950s, then constructivism in the 1980s, and finally to connectivism, which fits the digital age like today. We can also bring in self-regulated learning, which is about how students take charge of their own learning process, like setting goals, planning strategies, monitoring progress, and reflecting on outcomes. In the context of AI-supported video projects, this means that students are encouraged to explore tools independently, make decisions about how to design of the contents, and evaluate whether the final products really communicates the message they want. With AI as a support system, students not only learn the content but also develop the discipline and autonomy that make them more effective lifelong learners. Well, I teach English in a tourism study program, and honestly, this comes with its unique challenges. It's not just about teaching language, it's really about bringing together English skills, tourism, and hospitality knowledge, and of course, the requirements of Tibet. Now, one approach that has worked quite well is using video projects. I see this as a form of digital multimodal compositions. In other words, students are not only learning English, but they are also using it as authentic ways to learn. And this is very much in line with what's being promoted in Indonesia right now, project-based learning and case-based learning. What's exciting is that vocational students can create something tangible, something real that the public can actually consume. In my case, the students produced English language promotional videos for tourism, and this project also happens to be part of my doctoral research. So what I'm going to share next is actually the results of thematic analysis of my students' experiences with AI while creating their videos. Now, rather than just looking at the final products, I really wanted to understand how they used AI and what kind of patterns appeared in the reflections. From the analysis, a few interesting themes came up. For example, some students saw AI as a creative assistant, helping them generate ideas, structure the scripts, or even suggest better vocabulary. Others described AI more like a technical helper, especially when they needed visuals, subtitles, or quick corrections for the English. At the same time, there were also students who became very critical users. They didn't just accept AI output as it was. Instead, they checked whether the content was accurate, safe, and appropriate for promoting tourism. And finally, a strong theme was about confidence building. Many students felt that with AI support, they were more willing to experiment, to try speaking English on a video, and to publish their work publicly. So overall, the analysis shows that AI was not just a tool in the background. For these vocational students, it became a kind of learning partner, helping them plan, create, and reflect on their video projects. So in the pre-production process, AI really supported students in four key ways. First, it helps with ideas and brainstorming, giving them inspirations for the project. Second, it assisted in script writing, helping them shape and refine their drafts. Third, it guided the storyboarding, suggesting how scenes and visuals could flow. And finally, it works as a language checker, making sure that English was clear and natural. These are AI applications and platforms used in the pre-production process. They use Microsoft Copilot, Grok, Gemini, ChatGPT, Blackbox, and DeepSeek. Here in the production stage, AI mainly supported students in two ways. It helps with pronunciations, giving them quick feedback so their spoken English sounded clearer. It's also useful for rehearsal. Students could practice their lines with AI before actually recording the video, which made them feel more confident on camera. And finally, in the post-production stage, AI played a big role in polishing the student project. First, they use AI video editors to cut, arrange, and fine-tune the clips. Second, some tried AI voice tools for narrations, dubbing, or even adjusting their audio quality. And third, AI supported visual enhancements, helping students improve brightness, colors, or overall presentation so the videos look more professional. These are some AI video editors that students use, but most of them in my class, they use CapCut and Canva. Okay, now please let me show you an interesting article entitled The Effects of the Students' Acceptance or Learning Outcomes, AI-generated short videos versus paper materials. In this research, they use the elements of Technology Acceptance Model, TAM, and this is very interesting because they use experimental method. Okay, so let me share one of the key findings from this paper, which I think is quite interesting. The study shows that both AI-generated short videos and paper-based material can significantly improve learning outcome in foreign language learning. But now, here's the twist. Students with lower pretest scores tended to accept AI videos more easily, especially when they recorded high levels of perceived ease of use, usefulness, and positive attitude, intention to use, and concentrations. On the other hand, students with higher pretest score actually preferred paper-based material, particularly when those same acceptance factors were at lower level. The next article is integrating generative AI into digital multimodal compositions. The results of the study shows that the students leverage generative AI's capability across 5 key areas: content generations, feedback and revisions, visual representations, critical thinking, and multilingual support. So, here are some ideas for the future integrations of AI in Tibet. One of the most promising directions is what we call AI-supported multimodal composing. The first one is scaffold from simple visuals to real-world projects. So in Tibet, it really helps to move step by step. We can begin with simple outputs like posters or infographic, and once students are confident, we can move forward to AI-supported videos or even simulations. And the second integration is by treating AI as a workplace collaborator. It can help draft reports, generate visuals, or even create demo videos. And the third one is building critical digital and occupational literacy. Here is another important point. Tibet students don't just need language skills, they also need the ability to check whether AI-generated content is accurate, safe, and relevant. For example, is that AI-generated product I created really meeting industry standard? This kind of literacy is very crucial. The fourth one is the use of self-regulated learning or practical mastery. And then the fifth is applying AI short videos for skill demonstrations. And the last one is to encourage identity and industry relevance. AI projects give students a way to connect with their professional identity. For example, they are preparing for their real world career, so we need to give them tasks that really reflect their ability in industry and relevance. So to wrap up, the idea is clear. AI-supported multimodal composting in Tibet needs to mirror what really happens in the workplace. When we design learning that meets industry standard, while also giving space for student voice, we prepare them to engage critically with technology and at the same time to create meaningful media for the future. Okay, thank you, and I really appreciate your kind attention. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Ira, for the inspiring keynote and for addressing our question. With that, we conclude the keynote session of IGesCon 2025. Before we proceed to the parallel sessions, let's capture this special moment with a virtual group photo. We kindly invite all participants to switch on your cameras for a group photo session. All right. So we kindly invite everyone once again to switch on your camera for a group photo session with the keynote speakers. All right. Technical team ready? Okay, let's start with your best smile of today. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, wonderful. Let's do a quick thumbs up. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you everyone for your cheerful participation. That concludes our keynote session. We will now proceed with the parallel session, where our presenters will continue to share their valuable research and insight. And kindly check the session links provided and join your respective rooms on time. We wish all presenters and participants a productive and engaging session ahead. Distinguished participants, please be reminded that the parallel session 3 are scheduled to begin at 10:15 a.m. We kindly request all presenters and attendees to proceed to their assigned session room using the provided links and ensure that they are prepared for the upcoming presentation. We extend our best wishes to all presenters and look forward to a series of insightful sessions. Thank you for your attention and continued cooperation.